Today's recap is on the 2004 movie titled The Girl Next Door. The story begins in a high school where the seniors are taking photos for their yearbook. Most students mention the crazy things they did during high school, but a student named Matthew Kidman can't seem to find something to write. That's because his story is mostly boring, since he's the typical overachiever student. He hasn't had a girlfriend or tried anything crazy before. All he can think of is the time when he got his scholarship from a university and how proud his parents were. Westport School is having a gathering at the gym. Matthew and his friends Klitz and Eli enter the place. Matthew is the president of the student council, and he announces that they have raised the $25,000 to bring the genius student named Sam Nong out of Cambodia and have him study in their school. All the students get excited with the announcement. The next day, Matthew and his friends look at the popular seniors and wonder how they can skip classes and go to the beach without worrying. Matthew decides to join them, saying they should try something exciting before they graduate. His friends refuse to come, so Matthew goes alone. He drives his car to go after them, but then the school security asks him to pull over. He ignores the warnings until the security crashes. It turns out that Matthew has not moved his car and was just imagining. Later after school, Matthew arrives home and he notices a new car outside. He enters his house and finds Mr. and Mrs. Peterson talking with his parents. He tells them that he is working on a scholarship speech so he can go to Georgetown University. He says that the scholarship is for the student who best demonstrates moral fiber. That evening, Matthew practices his speech while taking the trash out. He stutters when he sees the girl getting out of the car. She stares at him and he can't take his eyes off her until he bumps into the trash can. Matthew then calls Eli and tells him about his hot neighbor. While on the phone, he sees the girl at the window. She starts taking off her clothes and Matthew can't help staring. He hangs the phone and focuses his attention on her. The girl looks behind all of a sudden and catches him peeking. She goes to Matthew's parents and they call their son to come down. His mother introduces the girl named Danielle, and it turns out that she did not tell his parents about what just happened. His mother says that Danielle is staying in her aunt's house while she is away. She then asks Matthew to show Danielle around. Matthew rides with Danielle in her car. She remains silent until suddenly pulling over. Danielle confronts Matthew about his peeking and he apologizes. To become even, she tells him he needs to take off his clothes in front of her. He protests, but ends up doing it. Danielle then drives off and leaves him behind. A few moments later she comes back, laughing. They have dinner together and share some stories with each other. Danielle says that she quit her job and is considering going to college. Matthew asks her if she has a boyfriend. She smiles and says no. When Danielle asks him about the craziest thing he has done, he tries to lie, but she finds out that he hasn't done anything. She also finds out he is single. Danielle later drives Matthew back home. When they arrive, Matthew hesitates to kiss her, even though the opportunity is right there. The next day, Matthew tells his friends about the previous night. Eli makes fun of him because he did not take advantage of the situation. Matthew then regrets not kissing Danielle. During his class, Matthew sees Danielle outside inviting him to go out. He runs from his classroom and quickly jumps into Danielle's car. They soon start hanging out frequently and spending lots of time together. One particular day, Danielle drives Matthew to an unknown house. Danielle breaks in, and Matthew follows her. She takes off her clothes, and so does Matthew. They both jump into the pool. She then asks him what's the craziest thing he's done lately, and he answers, "Definitely this." They go closer and are about to kiss when the house owner arrives. He finds out that the owner is the school's principal and becomes very worried. They run away and the principal sees them. Later, they go to Eli's house and Matthew introduces his friends to Danielle. His friends can't stop staring at her. The group then attends a party hosted by a popular student named Derek. All the students keep looking at Danielle. Derek's friend, Hunter, greets them and introduces himself to Danielle. Derek then takes Matthew away and tells him to go away because the party is full. Matthew watches as Danielle laughs and drinks with Hunter. He can no longer take it, so he goes to Danielle and kisses her in front of everybody. His friends watch in awe. The next day, Eli shows Matthew an adult film where Danielle is the main actress. Matthew gets jealous and mad as the actress touches her body. He walks out feeling upset and Eli runs after him, yelling, "Just sleep with her." He then tells Eli that he does not want to see Danielle again. Matthew arrives home and sees Danielle and his mom looking at his baby photos. Matthew goes to his room and Danielle follows him. When they get there, she asks him what she can do to make him feel better. He looks at his bed and imagines himself with her. He snaps out of it and tells her that they are going out later that evening. Matthew takes Danielle to a cheap motel and brings some alcohol to get her drunk. Danielle realizes that Matthew already knows what she does for a living. She strips and asks him if that is what he wants. Matthew asks why she is doing that and Danielle walks out crying because Matthew judged her based on her job. She says that she did not tell him the truth about her past because she loved how he looked at her. She leaves and goes home. Even after several days, Matthew can't move on. He eventually decides to visit Danielle to apologize. He goes inside her house and sees a strange man. He goes outside and the man follows him. The man introduces himself as Kelly. Later that night, the three of them go to a strip club and order drinks. Matthew asks how the two of them know each other and Kelly says that he is an adult film producer. Kelly lights up a cigar and Matthew asks for one, smoking for the first time. At school, the students watch a sex education video but Matthew and his friends are not interested. The movie is lame and has low quality. After class, Matthew sees Kelly talking with the senior girls. The three kids ride with him and Kelly tells them about his idea of shooting an adult film at prom with the senior girls. Matthew later goes to the bank and Kelly goes with him. Kelly finds out that Matthew raised $25 grand to bring Samning to his school. A clerk named Jeannie speaks with them. Matthew introduces Kelly as his student advisor. Kelly compliments Jeannie and she blushes. The next day, Matthew sees Danielle preparing to go to Vegas with Kelly for an adult film convention. He asks Danielle about her wanting to start over, but she sadly answers that that's who she is. That evening, Matthew meets with his friends and tells them they are going to the adult film convention in Las Vegas. When they get there, they see Danielle, whose stage name is Athena, posing for pictures. He goes to her apologizing and tells her that she is the best thing that's ever happened to him. She goes off the stage and Matthew follows her. An adult film director named Hugo calls Danielle and tells her that she should be with him and not with Kelly, but Kelly interrupts them and Hugo leaves. Matthew then tells Kelly that Danielle doesn't really want to be there. Kelly then takes him to a storage room and threatens him, telling him not to mess with his business. Matthew's friends tell him that they should leave. He has a scholarship dinner the next evening, but Matthew does not want to give up and proceeds to find Danielle. While waiting for Matthew, Klitz and Eli sit down and a woman asks them who they are. Eli lies and says that they are directors, so the lady asks them if they can use her in their film. They tell her that they really want to, but soon get interrupted by her boyfriend Mule. Matthew hands a paper to Danielle saying he knows the real her and that she is better than this, and then he leaves. Danielle opens the paper and it is the drawing of her when she first met Matthew. The next day, when someone knocks on his door, he is surprised to see that it is Danielle. She gives him a ride to school. There, she thanks him for believing in her and they kiss. He then asks her to go to prom with him and she says yes. When Matthew is in class, Kelly shows up and goes inside the classroom. Furious, he grabs Matthew and drives with him to a distant place. He tells Matthew that he lost 30 grand because Danielle did not show up on the set. He tells Matthew to pay him back. Matthew tries to negotiate, but then Kelly beats him up. Kelly supposedly feels bad for punching him and gives him a pill to ease the pain. He tells him that he will leave him and Danielle alone as long as he steals Hugo's trophy that should have belonged to him. They get inside Hugo's property and Matthew hesitates, saying he has to be back in 1 hour for the scholarship dinner. Kelly tells Matthew that after they steal the trophy, they will be square. When Matthew is inside, Kelly calls the police and reports a robbery at the house. Matthew finds the trophy and takes it with him. Suddenly, Hugo sees him and commands his bird to chase Matthew. He manages to escape just in time to see Kelly driving away. Matthew hides from the police and calls his friends. They give them a ride home and Matthew acts weird, constantly touching clits. Danielle runs out of Matthew's house bringing his suit. He dresses up and they get on the way to dinner. He starts freaking out but Danielle tells him to just go with it. They go inside the hall and everybody stares at them. We can see the drugs still have an effect on him as he kisses and touches people for no reason. When it's Matthew's turn to speak, he just can't read his notes. He throws them away and says that he'll just go with it. He then improvises a speech saying that the real moral fiber is about finding that one thing you cared about more than anything in the world. He looks at Danielle as he finishes his speech. The audience applauds and makes a standing ovation. Later, Matthew's competitor is announced as the winner and Danielle feels bad for him. The next day, Matthew goes to the bank to withdraw some money since Samnong arrives the following Monday. However, the clerk tells him that his student advisor already took the 25 grand the day before. Matthew realizes that it was Kelly who took all the money. Desperate, Matthew goes to Danielle's house and tells her what happened. They make a plan to raise the money and Matthew goes to his friends and asks for their help. Klitz hesitates but Eli manages to convince him and he finally agrees to the plan. The next day, Danielle calls her friends who also work in adult films. They go to Hugo's house and Matthew returns the trophy. They shake hands and Hugo agrees to pay Matthew the 25 grand by Sunday if he manages to pull it off. Afterwards, Matthew and his friends are with a film crew who starts filming everything. They get Danielle and her friends and the group goes to prom. When they get there, everybody stares at them. Matthew looks at Hunter and his friends and tells Eli that they are the actors. Hunter and his friends approach Matthew and ask him if he can talk. He then asks Matthew about the girls he brought and Matthew confirms they are adult film stars. Matthew asks if Hunter and his friends would like to be in a movie. He gives them their script but Derek accidentally drops one document, which is a photo release contract. They go into the room to start filming and Matthew goes back to Danielle. The team is busy going to different locations to shoot and Derek manages to join them. The faculty head finds the photo release paper and confronts Matthew about it. Matthew acts like he doesn't know anything and the faculty head leaves them, still suspicious. Danielle thanks Matthew for letting her have her first prom. A team member then interrupts them, saying there is a problem. Matthew finds out that Derek can't perform. They try to find a substitute but no one wants to do the main scene. Matthew steps up and decides to do it himself. While dressing up, he decides to continue the film, but when he sees the lipstick that Danielle left when she kissed his hand, he changes his mind. He tells his friends he can no longer do it and will just face the consequences alone. That's when Klitz volunteers to do it instead. They finish the film successfully, without getting caught, and celebrate. With champagne in the limo, everyone goes home and Matthew and Danielle are left in the car. When she asks him what is the craziest thing he has done lately, he kisses her and they make love for the first time. That morning, as Matthew is going home, Eli calls him saying that the videotape is missing. When Matthew enters the house, he sees his parents and the principal sitting with Kelly, saying they have an important thing to discuss. He sees that Kelly is holding the videotape. Kelly asks to speak privately with Matthew and when they are left alone, Kelly tells Matthew that it was his idea to have an adult film in prom and Matthew stole it. Matthew does not react, saying Hugo will deal with Kelly because he is Matthew's partner, sharing half of the profit. Kelly threatens him, saying if he doesn't give him his share, he will show the tape to his parents. Matthew does not care and tells him to show them the tape. Kelly then plays the tape to Matthew's parents and the principal. They find out that the videotape is actually a sex educational video and is way better than what is being played at school. Matthew's parents and the principal are impressed and congratulate him. The video goes viral and becomes the hottest selling sex education video ever made. Matthew makes a lot of money with it and finally gets to meet Samnang. Eli becomes a professional director and speaks at conventions. Klitz covered his face during the film but gains confidence because of his huge member. The movie ends with Matthew going to Georgetown University, which he can now afford to pay by himself. After class, he meets with Danielle, who is waiting for him outside her car. Thanks for watching. If you like our content, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe.